Welcome back, guys. Final video of today of Adam talking. So, hope you enjoyed the other stuff, the movie reviews, the quick plug for the show. We are very looking forward to our Sketch Havoc show. So, this is Turbo Turkey Part 7. We're into 2017. I actually went back and wrote down, like, what we did, just because, get a refresh the memory of what we did and all that stuff each month and stuff. As I said, we had done December, and we did a pretty good show there. The 2016 was a good growing year. We got to do a split show at the Pocket. We got to be part of Sketchfest again after a couple of years of not being in it. But as I said, we had some newer, some people had moved on, and we got a couple more new people involved, which I mentioned before. And then we had... we were going to be part of Improv Month. Was that the first thing we did? Yes, it absolutely was, Adam. Thank you for mentioning it. Before I get to that, though, it took me a minute to realize, because sometimes I have, like, the order of things in my mind, like, when they happened, and then I'll be like, wait, no, that was when I was talking with this person, and that person was around for this, so this had to have been in that year. Well, when I was going through my 2016 thing, I actually forgot to mention the two plays that I was involved in. So technically... Now I'm kind of confused. I think 2015, actually, I'd have to go further back than that, but 2015, I did a play called Christmas Twist at Burien. Ken Holmes was the director. If you've ever worked for Green Stage, he's usually involved. He's very heavily involved with that. When they do a lot of great Shakespeare in the park. And he's a really cool guy. It was the first time I got to work with him as a director. Anna was in the show. My friend Tim Takeshi was in the show. Very talented Mark Gladding was in the show. John Lynch, one of the best fight choreographers out there, and just a hell of a cool guy. And a girl named Madeline and a girl named Melissa, who are all great talented people. The show was basically kind of a take of, it was sort of a twist on the Christmas Carol story. It was written by an improv team, so I can appreciate that. But as Tim commented, he says, I think the talent on stage lifted the script itself. So it wasn't a bad show by any means. But I do think that, without the cast that we had, not to toot our own horn, pat myself on the back for some reason, I don't have a horn. But I think it was a good run. And it was a good time, good people having a good time. So, some stresses here and there, but nothing too bad. And I enjoyed working with Ken Holmes. He was very cool. That was one thing I forgot to mention. I guess that was technically at the end of 2015. Now we get into 2016. This is a big story. Not a big story, but so it was right after I closed Christmas Twist, and I think I was kind of, because we were doing a lot of stuff in 2016 between Sketchfest and all that stuff, that when I did Christmas Twist, it was like, oh no, that was 2016. 2015, whatever it is. There was a lot going on in 2015 too. But I was kind of wore out that I just was like I did Christmas Twist because they really needed guys, and I was like, okay. But I was like, after I was done with it, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to take a break. Then I got this call from this guy who had this Wizard of Oz script, musical, I guess, and he said he saw me at the unified auditions or general auditions that they do for TPS. It was the only time I've actually done it. And my favorite director, Rochelle Flynn, helped me prepare for it. And I had a pretty good audition. But I didn't really hear anything back. I'm like, it's first time audition, that's fine, whatever. Unfortunately, I've never been back since. I am a TBS member again, though. But what happened was that, he said he saw me at those auditions, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I just did a monologue for Noises Off and from Richard III, so I didn't do any singing, so what's he want me for a musical role? And he said he had a character actually playing Frank Baum. He wanted me to play that, and he wanted me to play the Wizard of Oz. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool. And I was like, all right, part of me was like, but he told me about it. Long phone conversation about it. But he wanted to hear me sing and all that stuff, so he wanted to meet with me and hear me sing. Since he obviously hadn't heard me sing at the audition. But cool enough, he must have liked what he saw from the audition anyway. So I thought, okay, well, that's cool. But he kind of told me that he had gotten the rights to it from the Baum family, and that they trusted him with it, and they had this huge script, and he would send me the script and all that. And at this time, like I said, I was kind of wanting to take a break, but, it's an opportunity. I'd never done Wizard of Oz. I hadn't really done a musical since I was in high school. And it was like a summer thing, and I was just a chorus member, so it wasn't like a big part. And for a personal thing for me, it was like, well, Frank Baum, John Ritter played him in a TV movie, so for me, it's like, well, play the same role John Ritter played is freaking cool for me as an actor. So of course I was like, yeah, I can play the Wizard of Oz. That's cool. So after a little bit of talk, he sent me the script. The script itself, in addition to the songs, I swear to God, it's like 3 acts. And I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and I'm like, and he wants to do it in March, and this is January at the time. And I'm just like, so I have to do these songs, memorize all them, know them, and then there's all these monologues and all these things, and I'm just like, holy shit. But the stipend was going to be like 200 hours. So I thought, okay, well, let's at least make a little bit of money. It'll be a cool, but I was definitely stressing. There were definitely times like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But like, I've always had a habit of acting roles. And I could tell a story another time about how something ended. That'll be a totally non-Turbo Turkey video. I'll talk about my theater pre-Washington sometime, experiences there. Or maybe my college experiences. Another time. Don't want to get into it right now. But anyway, I never quit. Like, if I got an opportunity to be in a show, I never quit. Like, even if I get frustrated with certain things, like with Shakespeare Northwest when I was like, found out I wasn't getting paid, and I was dealing with pay, and just like things like that, like, and make me all that drive and all that stuff. I was never mad at them personally. It was just like, but I never quit though. I just felt like, I made a commitment here. I signed a contract. Let's do this thing. But I was still having kind of like, I just don't know if I can do this. I like my confidence issues and stuff like that. So I think the first read, I think we were supposed to have. No, I met him before that. I met for him to sing for him, and then he was a little person, and he seemed like a nice enough guy, and he had written the script, so I mean, he obviously had some talent and stuff like that. He was trying to basically launch it so it could eventually go to Broadway, and I thought, well, that's cool. I thought it'd be a good opportunity for myself as an actor, so why not? But I ended up not feeling very well. I couldn't sleep very well because overnight job, and I was supposed to be at the first row. I called him and said, I'm feeling sick, and he understood and was cool about it. So the first time I met him, after that, I met a couple other cast members, like two people there, and he had said, we met at the food court at the Seattle Center, which if you ever been to the Seattle Center, there's the food court there on the second floor. Which I thought, okay, we're just meeting to go over a few songs and have us sing songs and talk about that. And I signed my contract, which said I'd be paid $200. I assumed that I would get a copy at a later time. Didn't at the time. More on that later. So I thought it was kind of strange. I'm like, oh, why are we meeting at the food court, though? If we're going over songs right here, shouldn't we just go to a TPS room? But I thought, okay, well, whatever. It's, small production, whatever the case. I figured he had a musical director. I figured out, all these things. But I quickly found out that this was a disaster waiting to happen. Because I'm sitting there still like, every time I'm going, I'm like, and most of the time I was meeting him on the weekend. So I'd be going on Saturday night to the food court in downtown Seattle and being just like, what the fuck am I doing? But like he kept like saying, "Oh, this person dropped out, but we have a new Dorothy," and then he would tell me that, and there was a new Dorothy, and there was a new Dorothy, and there was a new person. Like all these people kept dropping out, like quitting. So I'm already like, I should have seen a red flag coming, Like this is what am I doing here? But I don't know. Like I said, there's this part in the back of my mind. I'm like, I made a commitment, signed the contract. I'm not going to bail, Like I said, at the end of the day, I'm still getting paid for this, right? So okay, and still a good experience at Wizard of Oz. This is going to be great. It's going to be at Annex Theater. Okay, this is cool. I never performed there. Cool. So anyway, eventually we did get, more of a full cast. But I started to realize, too, like, he didn't rent any rooms. And I'm like, why is he not renting? Just rent a room. They're not that expensive. They're like, I think, $15 an hour? Like maybe $20. It's like, it's not. I do it for my improv classes. It's not that much. I pay maybe $50 for if I do 2 weeks and like 20 or 30 for one. For a 2-hour session. It's like, it's not that bad. So, but I'm thinking, I thought, maybe he just has a lot of other production things, but why would we not meet, And I started talking to Draco and Josh, and they said that they were involved in this very same show years before, and both of them had quit because they saw the same problems. There's no rehearsal space. Where's the musical director? We did eventually have a musical director, but he wasn't full time. He was also a student at UW, so he couldn't be there all the time. They had a costumer, but we barely saw her. Like I said, people were dropping out left and right. Wendy, who was in both Electric Man and The Dark Meat. Did I talk about The Dark Meat in 2016? I'm sure I did. Only the Otter? Yes, I did. Okay. Yes, I did. Because we talked about the zombie show. Yeah, that's right. I did talk about that. I couldn't remember. I'm like, oh god, did I forget that too? But no, she was in The Dark Meat as well. She was our narrator kind of character. And she did a great job. She was in it as well. Like I said, once we finally get settled on a cast, the girl playing Dorothy named Gabriella, she's cool. We're still friends on Facebook. It was fine. My problem, though, besides amongst anything, was I barely got to meet the music director for my songs. I had not done any singing besides in the shower or in my car, since probably college, taking a singing class or anything like that. So I was a bit rusty as it was. And I had 4 songs. Now, 2 of the songs were more bass voice stuff. I was with some other group. We had gone over them several times with the group, so I had them down pretty well. I felt comfortable with them. There's one with the wizard and the other characters, and there's another one with the wizard and their characters. So I remember like 4 songs all around. The other one were as Frank Baum. And the one song that I sang with Dorothy wasn't bad. That one I got to work on. Like, I can't read music for shit. I'll fully admit that. That was the other biggest thing. They give me this music, I can't read music. Like, I can sing okay, but I can't read music. So if I like reading notes and where the notes are going and how high and how low, so I did meet with the music director at one time, and he went over the one song, but he didn't have time to go over me with the first song that I was going to be singing in the show. I think that was the opening song, maybe the second, but my opening song, I barely had any time. Even when we got to Tech Week and we were there, we didn't have any time to work because everybody else was trying to get their shit worked in too, which is understandable. But I never got a time before we got the performance to even work my goddamn song. So I was making sure I was hitting these notes right and hitting them in the right order of the words and all that shit. Yeah. And luckily, we didn't do the whole like play. It was basically treated like a concert. We had like, music stands. We had the stuff in front of us to sing and all that. So at least there was that. So that was at least somewhat of a relief. But anyway, we get to the thing. This was one of those situations where I saw what a disaster it was going to be. And even though it was a concert, I told a few people about it, but I was just like, you know what? It's very rare that I don't want to invite people to shows. Like, I pretty much invite people to every Turbo Turkey show. Whether they come or not, I still invite them because I'm nice like that. But it was one of those things where I was just like, why am I doing this? But it was like, if you make it great, don't worry about it if you don't. And Anna came, of course, because she's my wife and she was my girlfriend at the time, and that's, what you do. And I just remember, like, finding out, like, 2 days before the concert, and there was a high school kid in there, too. And he had found this article where the director had been arrested for suspicion of like groping a young kid and stuff like that. And so all of us are just like, what the fuck? And Gabrielle was pissed. She sent an email, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't hear a damn thing about this either, So we're all pissed, like, first of all, this has been a disaster for production as it is. We thought we were coming to this thing being some huge professional, big production with huge numbers, dance numbers, and singing, and like a big musical thing. And here we're doing a freaking concert at Annex Theater. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like not at all what I was expecting this to be. On one hand, it was a relief because I didn't have to learn all those lines. But on the other hand, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And yeah, so he did like try to explain. He says it was a misunderstanding and that the kid was like some like street tough or something. I don't know. And that he, on the first rehearsal that none of us were there for, none of these people were at least the original cast members, he told everybody about that thing and that he had been cleared of it and da-da-da. And, but like, it still wasn't exactly the best thing. Like, you should have said something again because that, you had someone who was underage. Not a good thing to have any record. No, no, no offense and all that. So anyway, we went through the show. Whatever, we understood. We moved along. As far as the show went, it went okay. I thought everybody basically sang their stuff pretty good. Other than my first song, where I know I was hitting the notes wrong, and I know I was doing it in the right musical tempo. Where's my tempo, as they'd say in Whiplash? Or not my tempo, but yeah. And there was this one girl. I think her name was Stacy, and I'll talk about her in a minute. But basically, I find out too that like we're not going to get paid. And for me, that's the big, like, what the fuck, man? After all this bullshit. And he keeps saying, oh, everyone's going to get paid. Why are the people dropping out? They're going to get paid. They're going to get paid. He keeps saying we're going to get paid. In fact, I signed a contract that said I was going to get paid $200 at the end of this thing. And so I'm already, like, hearing this stuff. I'm like, okay, this is not making me very happy. Why am I still fucking here? I signed a contract. I'm sitting here. This is the only time I've truly been upset at an acting thing. Well, not the only time, but like, that's another story, like I said. But where I truly was like, why the fuck did I do this shit? I'm not getting paid. I barely got any time to work with the music director, who's been in and out. We don't have a rehearsal space. We're literally working in the hallways of the Seattle Center. They kick us out at one time, and why am I doing this shit? It's like most of the people in the cast are pretty nice. But, like, I think we're all on the same page. It was like, what the fuck is going on here? And we're trying to be nice. We're trying to be understanding. We're trying to be cool. But, like, it's just like, what the hell, man? And so Anna came to the show. I did actually hit a really good high note on the song I did with Dorothy, which surprised the hell out of me, too. So I did hit that out. My other song went pretty well. The worst part, performance thing, was when we... I think it was the last performance. I had left that Saturday. I think it was a Sunday matinee. I had left that Saturday to... What was it? Oh, yeah. I left that Saturday. I'd walked to my car because you have to park 10 million miles away in Capitol Hill. So I parked pretty far away. And I realized, like, as I'm driving, oh, crap, I left my notebook there with my music in it. But I'm like, oh, well, it'll be there tomorrow. What's going to happen to it? And somehow I got there the next day and my shit was gone. So, oh boy, this is not working out so good. So we still have a performance. I don't have my fucking music now. My notebook, which was there, suddenly is not there. And nobody knows a fucking thing about what happened to it. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I never saw it. And it's just like, what the hell? First of all, who would steal a music thing? My thought is it probably got thrown away by mistake. But, so anyway, we got a performance. So he hands me this iPad with the music on it. Now, at this time, now I'm pretty good with touchscreen. I've gotten used to it like a lot of other people. At that time, I didn't have an iPad. I didn't have any kind of phone even at that point where you even did the touchscreen and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm sitting there trying to figure this thing out, and like, I'm clicking on the wrong thing, and like, I think some video played. Meanwhile, it's in the middle of this one girl's song, and I'm just trying to figure this shit out. Like, I'm stressing because, fuck, I'm not trying to... And like, I swear to God, she actually like punched me in the arm as she walked by, this girl, and I'm like... And she had been super passive-aggressive the entire time. And, like, I just like, first of all, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, don't put your fucking hands on me like that. That's not nice. Like, I'm stressing out here as it is. I'm stuck with I'm sitting here with an iPad in front of me trying to figure this shit out. And you're freaking hitting me? It's like, because of what? I upstaged your fucking number? Oh, what? The 5 people in the audience, I'm sure, were real upset. I mean, yeah, so that was also just, like, not making me very happy because, like, okay, I basically like everybody in this cast but you now, and the director. But like, and I thought the music director was a very nice young man, very helpful. But like, yeah, and then he hands he gives me this little figure that kind of looks like a Wizard of Oz. He's wearing a green hat, and he just gives this to me. I'm just like, okay, fuck's my money. And I never really asked him about it, but like, I was just like, oh, I'm going to try to do this again in the summer. I hope everyone comes back. I guarantee you, nobody came back. Yeah, I don't remember his name. I know his name was Michael something. If you see anything about a wizard, don't do it, guys. Do not do it unless you see in writing, get a copy of your contract. If you make sure you do not do it because he does not know what he's fucking doing. He might be a talented guy. He wrote the script. I don't necessarily think he's a con artist. I just think that he is broke and he doesn't really know, how to make sure you get your actors fucking paid. I'm not perfect, but the Turbo Turkey productions we've done, we made sure the actors got fucking paid. It may not have been a huge stipend, but you got your stipend at the end. Because that's what you're supposed to fucking do. If you're going to put on a production. Especially if you're doing a production of this size. Even if it's just a concert. You still owe your actors fucking money. If you don't have money, don't put on a fucking production. I get wanting to keep doing and being creative even when you're broke. I did it with Turbo Turkey, as I've told you in the earlier stories. Where I paid, instead of paying my insurance, I paid I paid Stone Soup for the rental. I get that. But at the same time, I wasn't paying actors that were expecting to get paid. I didn't have them sign a contract that said, hey, I'm going to get $200 at the end of this thing. So putting up with all this bullshit that I'm putting up with, I'm not even going to get paid $200 at the end. That's upsetting. That was more upsetting than the Shakespeare Northwest thing, which like I said, I love those people. They're very good people. It was just a misconstrued, that was more of a misunderstanding. Because I thought I was going to get paid and I wasn't. And then it was like, fuck, I'm broke. But sorry for the language again. But, that was all that was. But I would definitely say that outside of one other experience, this was probably the worst theater experience. And I would never, if I had to do it over again, I would, as soon as I saw I wasn't getting paid, bye-bye. I would have been out of their ass. Honestly, I should have quit right away. That's Josh and Draco. My friends warned me. But anyway, I just sorry to backtrack on that and get off on the thing. But that was an important story to tell because that was also a learning acting experience there too. Whereas Christmas Twist was fun. So anyway, 2017 now, guys. We're back. So yes, Improv Month. Back to Improv Month. Sorry for that diatribe and thing, but I just hadn't told that story. And by God, that's what we're doing here. We're telling stories. So anyway, back to me. So anyway, we're doing Improv Month. And I had this idea of doing fan fiction. And we hadn't done a whole lot of long form, as I think I'd mentioned before. But my idea was to take there's a game called the Typewriter Game, and it kind of works into being a fan fiction thing. And I don't think we had enough rehearsal on it. And I think the thing was January 6th. So it was right after Christmas. So it was we didn't have a ton of rehearsal. So I think the idea could have worked with more practice, much like most other long form and sketch stuff. But I think that it was an idea that had potential, but it wasn't ready yet. But anyway, they had this kickoff night. This is another fun story. We had this kickoff night in January. Jet City hosted it because they wanted to be supportive of the Improv Month that the Pocket was hosting. And like I said, we made a good, relationship with the Pocket at that point. So anyway, sorry. And so we were doing this kickoff thing, and basically we were supposed to do 30 seconds to a minute of basically what your show is going to be about for the Improv Month. And ours was called fan fiction. My idea was to kind of play off of kind of that almost like our group was being fanfic how people write fanfics about characters in movies. My idea was that they were going to write about us as characters and and doing the shipping and all that, stuff like that. So that was my idea, but it just never really grew to fruition. Which happens sometimes. I just don't think I was as clear in my idea. But regardless, not important. So we get up there, and I can't remember how the typewriter thing went, but basically, Josh is playing this coach or something like that, and he's yelling and stuff like that, and then he says something as I think Donnie and Jag, I think both kind of ran away scared, and Josh in the moment says, "Oh, a bunch of pansies." Not the nicest word, but he could have said pussies, or something else. He probably should have said scaredy cats, honestly. But anyway, whatever. It didn't seem like anyone really reacted badly. But I get home after this fun night. I've seen other groups come up and just, play the show. It was a fun little group atmosphere of the improv thing. It was cool. So I get home and I had this email from somebody at Jet City. Her name was Natasha. I won't go into her last name. I'll just keep her as Natasha. And it was just like, hey, I just want to let you know that one of your members used the word pansy and all that, and that can be considered offensive to LGBT people and all that stuff. And if she had stopped it right there, no big deal. Apologize, da da da. But she broke it down. Let me explain the etymology of the word, and da, 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 and just like this whole big thing of like talking, essentially talking down to us. And maybe that wasn't her intention, but it was just like this. I'm college educated, and I'm going to talk about, I looked this up on Google. And as I said, no offense to her as a person. I don't know her that well. I haven't had any real bad interactions with her since. But I just was just like, I handled it the best I could. I said, well, I've talked to him, and he told me that's unacceptable, and But at the same time, we were all just like, what the fuck, of all the words he could have said. I think of pansies, I think of flowers. You look at the dictionary definition, that's what comes up. So it was just kind of awkward because it wasn't even the complaint. Because if someone is upset about something, I respect that. If you're upset about something, please voice it. I'll apologize. We'll clear the air. We'll move on. That's basically what I did. But it was more just that code, like, well, the etymology of the word, I'm going to talk down to you because clearly you guys are stupid. And it's like, I wasn't even the one who said the damn word. It was Josh, So anyway, I talked to everybody about it in Turbo Turkey. We were all laughing about it, honestly. We thought it was so ridiculous. Jag, who is LGBT himself, he's gay, he thought it was like, whatever. Like, he understood being upset about it, but he also was just like, what the fuck? He actually ended up writing a sketch we did called Goober, which was kind of playing off of that. Basically, like, censoring what words people are saying, because it wasn't, like I said, he didn't say the F word or something like that, which, would have been truly offensive. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying go out and say pansy all the time, because it's not a nice word if people have feelings towards that, and I understand that. I think I've probably been called a pansy, before when I was a kid or something like that, so whatever. People, are assholes sometimes, but, it was a simple mistake in the moment, improv. Like I've said before about the gym thing with the van and all that. In the moment, things happen. And you're just like, okay, well, sometimes it's like better to, get forgiveness than permission, I guess, is kind of the old saying. Anyway, regardless, things smoothed over. There wasn't any real issues. I didn't hear anything about Jet City being upset about it, really. So it's like, okay, mistakes happen. We're innocent people. We're people. We learn from it. So anyway, I remember we did that. We did our performance, and I thought it went okay, but it didn't really, like I said, it didn't really go the way I wanted it to. And then we also did it as a January show. And, no one came to that show. Like, no one. We had, it was just Rusty and Kevin were there. Nobody there. So it's like, okay, we're just treating it like a regular rehearsal, and we'll just play this, and we'll play some improv games, because that's really all we're going to do with this. So anyway, that's okay, though. But the other cool thing, though, despite all that drama, is that we were offered to do a show at the Pocket in April. And it was Sarah McKinley who was doing the booking, and later became in charge of the Pocket as well when Clayton left the following year. But that's later. But they were nice enough to offer us to sing because they enjoyed what we had did the previous year and stuff like that. It was time that we got our own little showcase. So sweet. And my idea for that. Oh, actually, I'll get back to that in a minute. Let's just go through. We're gonna go in order here, Adam. Go in order. So yeah, we did FanFiction and nobody showed up. We did February Laugh Occur the next month, and that was just improv games. Just did improv games. It was fun. There were some people there. That was good. And then we did March Laughness again, which was also fun, with some of the newer people and James and Jack, and it was a lot of fun. So they enjoyed it. So that was fun. Those were all good. Then there was I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, so also before we get to that sketch show, as I said, we also decided after doing the Dark Meat the previous year that it was time for Electric Man to make the Seattle debut. We had had some success in Burien, and so we actually were able to book it for March at Eclectic Theater, formerly Odd Duck, and they became Eclectic. and they were nice enough to do like a 50-50 split, which was super cool. It's nice when theaters can do that, because then you can split the house. It's much easier than have to pay $1,000 to, rent out several days. So anyway, that was cool. So what we did is we went over the script because we knew it was too long from before. So we're like, okay, what can we cut? What can we tweak to make this, 2 acts? So we just, cut out some stuff. And we did auditions. I think it was January. It's about January as well that we did auditions for it. And let me tell you, we had 20, 30 people showing up. That was amazing compared to like the first time we did Electric Man. Well, we had 4 people at the first audition. It was so nice to have that turnout. And it was the first time that I've ever, for the most part, I think, there might have been another time, but where I literally actually had to send people, unfortunately, we can't ask you to come to callbacks. That's one of the few times I've ever had to do that. And it wasn't that they weren't talented. It was just like, there's just so many other talented people here. Like we had 6 men come out, and several, like we had a lot of women, which honestly in acting is always great to have a lot of women come to the show. Obviously the other thing, the big elephant in the room that we had to address, and we did talk with Rusty and Kevin about it, was the rubber bandman role, which Michael had played before his passing. And before we even started, I was like, "Are you comfortable with this?" I mean, you're not going to be completely comfortable with it, but like, because like I said, I'm a willing person. Look, he did a great job in the role, and I want to make sure everyone's comfortable. I want to make sure that there is, I cast another actor in this thing. I don't want it to be tense and uncomfortable for them, So let's, and they said, okay, we're good with it. It's your play. It's your decision. We support it. Okay, cool. No big deal. More on that later. So ultimately, we had a great rehearsal race. We had a great cast. We cast. So other than basically me, Anna, and Josh reprised our roles. Josh was Dr. Nose, and of course I was Electric Man. Anna was Adele / Fiona Lelio later. Alex, who was one of our new members for Turbo Turkey, our sketch group, actually, and an improv group, actually ended up playing Panoramic this time, which Simone had played before. Simone did audition again, but she was going to be on a trip in Hawaii the week that we were doing the show, so she just decided to bow out, and totally understandable. So yeah, Alex was Panoramic, and then we had 2 other guys. We had one guy, Greg, who was just amazing as a narrator. So he nailed it the first audition. Even a couple of people was I remember this girl Helen was just like, well, I was gonna read for the narrator, but Greg kind of nailed it. So I don't think I can do that justice. And so that was cool. And then we had Curtis had worked on a show with Diana in the she had done a Christmas show in Tacoma, and I came in, I saw him in the show, and I was like, yeah, he'd be a great Lieutenant Zeke. Because Corey, who had done it the previous time, wasn't able to come back. And I wanted to go a little bit older, too, because Corey was closer in age to Anna, so I wanted to, and he's an older guy. So I wanted to have him read with it, and I'm like, okay, cool. We got our narrator, we got our Lieutenant Zeke for sure. So it was mainly just narrowing down the callbacks, all right, who's going to be the new Neuromistress, because Helen Martin wasn't able to come back, and who's going to be the new this and this and that. And we had a couple ensemble roles, too, just to kind of and we decided for the ensemble roles we would divide them up and have 2 males, 2 females, just to kind of balance that out well. And so we had Adam King, we had Audio Soothe, which super cool name, and then we had Umberto. And what we ended up doing, we had read with all of them, and I liked them all. They were all good, but Umberto definitely felt like the best choice of the guys we had. And I think they all did a good job. I think they all have a lot of talent. But I think Umberto just felt like the more experienced one that would fit the part. So we ended up going with him. We went with Erin Hobbs as Neuromistress. She's taller, whereas Helen was kind of short. It was kind of a different dynamic. Because with Helen it was she's shouting upwards, and with Erin she's taller. So she's, it's more of even keel dynamic. And then Umberto was shorter, so it was kind of a different dynamic from the first time. And then we had Noelle ended up playing. What we did is we ended up splitting the role of, because last time we did Aubrey and Nina as the same actress, played by Jessica Severance. But this time we ended up splitting that role just to give more, because there were so many women. I'm like, why not just split up the role? So we had Noelle, who played Aubrey, who was like the, kind of the J. Jonah Jameson, but female, and kind of sort of love interest for Panoramic too. And then we had Amy, who was played Nina, and she was really good. I said, and nothing against Jessica Severance, she was a very good actress, but I feel like Amy and Noelle both played their roles really well. Like they both had there was a different take from them, and I felt like there was they made a lot of good choices. And then for the ensemble, we cast Helen Tang, who was super cool, and I'm trying to remember everyone's name. There's so many people in this cast. And we had Audio and Adam being, what was that? Oh, Audio was playing, the weird thing, I kind of regret this choice. I'll tell in a minute, but like, Audio was playing Jimmy the Fish, an Italian gangster, and he was African American, so kind of funny that he was playing it. And then Adam King was playing kind of Sal, Hal, which were the twin, very ridiculous characters, of course. And then, God, what is her name? Oh, driving me nuts. There's one more girl. Oh, I need to look up. Losing my mind. Brianna, that's her name. Yeah, she was also in there. She did a flashback and played Anna's mom in a flashback scene, which ties to later stories and stuff. And she did some ensemble roles with Helen and stuff like that. So we had a great set cast there. So we did rehearsals. Everything was going well. And like I said, Eclectic was great. Amy and Brianna were both helpful with the lighting as well. They helped out on the lights and the sound. Noelle also chipped in too. So obviously when we were doing the payments, I made sure they got a little bit, a little extra just to make sure, if you did a little bit more than what you're supposed to do. We're always happy to pay a little bit more. Me and Diana had a few clashes during it. Just me as a writer and then sort of producer, there were times that she was doing things. I'm like, why don't we do this? Because we need to time this and do that, and it's just a creative process. Me and Diana have a lot of respect for each other. We're very good friends. We've been friends for a long time. So, we clash occasionally, but it's always, I think we always are able to just put it behind us, which is good. I think that's the professional way to work. You're going to have clashes. You're going to have, things you get agitated about. What else did happen? Was there anything else that happened during that segment? Yes. So anyway, we actually did pretty good. Our opening night wasn't too bad. We had Donnie came, and I think Jeanette came to the preview, which there were a couple stumbles during the preview, like furniture not getting moved and a curtain falling when I tried to make my entrance, and I felt kind of wooden in my Jeffrey Dexter, my alter ego to Electric Man. And Donnie pointed out, and Donnie wrote a review for it, and kind of pointed that I found my stride when I was in Electric Man, but I was kind of a little stiff when I was Jeffrey Dexter. And I just took that, and he even admitted it was probably just because it was a preview, and there were things going on that was kind of distracting it. So, fair enough, took it in stride. And then the second night, was we had, I think, three or four performances. I think it was four performances, I believe, yes. And we had really pretty good turnout for that night too, and we did. We actually had a reviewer in the show. I forget what place he was from, but he had come to review the show, and ended up writing this really super cool review, and was probably one of the best reviews I'd ever seen. He complimented the writing, complimented the cast, and just the story, and he gave a few criticisms here and there, but probably the most positive review I'd ever seen. And he was really enthralled with it, just this is fringe theater, this is the type of thing you guys need to support and go out to see these shows, because he just went there on a whim. So that was super cool. The other cool thing is we went in costume, a couple of us, to promote the show, because it was in Capitol Hill. We went in costume to Comic-Con. We didn't go in the whole building, but we were there in costume, in our superhero costumes and villain costumes, handing out flyers. Now, Josh did most of that. He, interacted with people, because Josh is just very, not enigmatic, but he's outgoing. Like, very outgoing. Me, myself, I may look like I talk a lot, and I do. But if I don't know people, I'm not. It's like, come to my show. Come to my show. I go into, like, shy mode. I've always been a shy person since I was a kid. This one's going to be long, guys. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. There was a lot going on in 2017. Maybe it'll be a two-parter. Who knows? We'll see. I got all the time in the world, baby. Anyway, maybe I should get a haircut. That'd be a good idea. Anyway, back to me. So anyway, yeah, the show was going good. We had good reviews. We had a great night. That first weekend and stuff like that. And I think we did a pickup rehearsal. I don't think we did that, but like, really great experience there. And then there was an unfortunate situation that happened, and it kind of reflects back to a past experience that happened in the past at Turbo Turkey. And this is my fault. I will absolutely take not totally my fault, but my fault for not really like noticing the signs of it. I'll just come out and admit this because I've kind of shied away from saying the name, but like it's kind of like also to tell the story truly of what was happening and all that. I do have to mention their names, so I want to make it very clear as far as addiction goes, as far as any kind of issues. My heart goes out to anybody who goes through that. That is awful, to have to be in that mindset or have those. Because like I said, addiction is very much caused by trauma and things in your life that have happened. Abuse sometimes can have, there's a lot of stuff that, sets off those things. So I just want to say that. So you may have noticed when I talked about how Diana had gone away and came back, Diana was the person that had the drinking issue. And she had really gotten clean. She had gotten fully clean. There were no issues. There was maybe one slip once at a time I saw her drinking. It wasn't a big deal. She immediately said, no, you know what? I don't need that. Well, that night that the reviewer was there, I did notice her drinking champagne. And I should have, I was just so happy with how enthralled he was at the show. And we talked to him and just how great the show went and how big of a crowd we had and all that stuff that I wasn't even seeing the signs of shit. At the same time, I was just well, maybe this, it's a celebratory thing. She's just having a drink. There won't be any issues. This isn't going to be a problem like before. And like I said before, I love Diana to death. So this is not me being But the next Friday, I get to the theater and I look at her up in the booth and I can tell that she is, is drunk basically. And I just was like, shit. Because, a lot of the people in the cast did not know of this stuff. And I had to send an email later that night explaining what had happened and what was going on with Diana, because everybody else just thought, she was sick or something like that. And that's what we kind of said to the crowd, just because my intention was, let's just keep her backstage, lay her down, we'll handle whatever she was doing up in the booth. We'll just go out and do the announcements. I'll just do the announcements. We'll just introduce the show. We'll get it started. Unfortunately, she came right out and started the announcements, and she's unfortunately slurring her words and things like that. So it was just not really it was an uncomfortable experience. So I just, I had to come out and kind of not shove her off stage, but just kind of gently guide her off stage. And says, she's under the weather. She's not, thank you for coming in, all that stuff. The show went pretty good. But I think it was definitely something that was on everybody's minds, and it was scary for everybody too, and because everybody liked Diana a lot. We all liked Diana, and it was just one of those things where it's fuck, because we were doing so well. This run was going so well, and there was no real major issues, and it was fuck. So I had, of course, have a talk with her the next day. She apologized to everybody. She apologized to Anna. She apologized to the cast. And, said that it was just a bad slip and that was, not going to be a problem. And I said, okay, fair enough. These things happen. And then we got there that night and it was a sold out show. We had gotten good crowds the previous week. We sold the show out. I think they held 50 people. We got 50 people. So that was a really nice break. That was a nice... From having some kind of negativity from that thing to having a sold-out show. So it's okay, you know what? Stuff happens. We're all human. Let's just have a great last show. And we did. And we made a decent amount of money on the show, too. That was a lot of fun. Everybody got paid. Everybody had a great time. Now, I will say one thing, though. Remember how I said the thing about it not being awkward for Rusty and Kevin? It was awkward for Rusty and Kevin. And I feel bad for Umberto because he was doing everything he could, giving his own take on the role. And I think he understood kind of things. But I think at the same time, I don't think we'd really had a conversation with him yet when this happened before this performance about that he was taking over a role that was played by someone who had passed on and his parents were there. So, you know, and Rusty comes up to him because he had come to one of our shows. I think it was March Softness or something like that. And it was, she's like saying, well, you know, you have to understand how awkward I feel about this role because you're like, you know, and it's like, I just felt bad because on one hand I feel for her, but at the other time it's like, please don't make this poor guy feel awkward. You know, it's like, it'd be like Michelle Williams going up to Jared Leto and saying, you fucker, you know, not saying directly like that, but like, you know, coming up and saying, you know, or Joaquin Phoenix or whatever, like, and be like, oh, how dare you play this role that a man who has passed away. And I understand their feelings. They absolutely have every right to feel that way. It was their son. I understand that. He was one of my best friends, so I totally understand that feeling too. But it is awkward for us too, because it's like, we're just trying to put a show on. You know, it is what it is. Like I said, though, overall, though, the show went great. Show went great. We did money. We did good. On to the next thing. My initial idea was to take the dark meat to Eclectic in October, like bring the dark meat to Seattle too that same year. Unfortunately, Eclectic closed at the end of the year because of the rent in Capitol Hill was just getting too much, and Rick Deskin, who was a great guy, had to unfortunately close things down. So it is what it is, but at least it was basically outside that one little thing was, you know, a positive experience. And like I said, Diana was right back on her feet, so no big deal. Things happen. Sometimes we have slips when we're in those situations. It happens. Stress and celebration and, you know, all the type of things can happen. So that was the thing that happened. Moving on. So like I said, back to the sketch show. The cool thing was, like I said, we were doing a show and I decided let's do the alphabet. Because way back when, in my other group in Indiana, we did an A through Z show. So I thought, well, why don't we split it up? Because we have basically, I think, an hour. I think it was what we had, an hour. And we'll do A through M first, and then we'll come back in the fall, and we'll do, you know, N through Z. So we kind of divvied up the letters and stuff like that, and we all wrote a couple sketches or one sketch. If you just want to write one sketch, just write one sketch. And just kind of how evened out, whoever wanted to write two sketches, wrote two sketches. And I think outside of Diana and Donnie, I think everybody else wrote a sketch. Jeanette wrote a sketch, Anna wrote a sketch, Alex wrote a sketch, Jessica wrote a sketch. Actually wrote two sketches. She wrote two sketches. I wrote a couple sketches. Josh wrote a couple sketches. Jag wrote two sketches. He wasn't actually able to be in the show because he was in a play. But he actually wrote sketches though. So that was cool. So yeah, I remember I'm trying to think of all these sketches too. We had Addiction, which Jessica wrote. And the entire premise was, it was similar to a sketch I did a long time ago, but it was kind of the reverse. In that all the people who were there for this addiction meeting all had different, their addictions were really ridiculous. Things like my Power Rangers addiction or things like that. And then you had the one person that actually had real drug addiction problems and stuff like that, which was the character I was playing. And actually, I thought about it and thought about the sketch that I had done, and I was like, man, this is better than the sketch I did, honestly. So compliments to Jessica. And then we had, what was that? B. Josh wrote a Batman sketch, which Donnie played Batman. And he basically played it like essentially he was a criminal being detained. Am I being detained? Am I being detained? And that was pretty funny. And then he also had a Crocodile Dundee sketch playing off that whole, like, that's not a knife, this is a knife thing. And the person was like, no, but this is also a knife. No, that's not a knife. I got to play Crocodile Dundee with my Australian accent. Which was cool because there was a girl in the audience who was from Australia and complimented my Australian accent, which I'm like, cool. I didn't even know I could do an Australian accent, so go me. So that was really funny. I said I don't always talk about the sketches that we did because sometimes I don't remember exactly what sketches we did, but these ones I can remember because it's a little more frequent. And then D was I took a sketch I'd written before, Dance Class from Hell, that we did when Reagan and Jillian and all them were there, and I kind of tweaked it a little bit. And what I did was that I was the dance teacher, and I was a sleaze, but it turns out that I was actually a Sith Lord, and Donnie was a Jedi, and we had a little, duel and all that. That was fun. And then James had wrote in the sketch called, I forget what it was, Elementary and stuff, Earl Grey. It was like, but it was Diana and Anna, as two women basically bad mouthing each other over tea, essentially, and it was they call each other bitch at the end and stuff. But and then me and Josh played Frankenstein, and I think Frankenstein's monster. I forget how to read the sketch again. It was really good, and that was the two-person guy sketch. And then we had Goober, which was the infamous sketch that Jag wrote, based on the Pansy experience. And Josh was playing the person censoring people from saying words. They're like, Goober, Goober, And then James comes out at the end and says, mayonnaise, And it was a funny sketch. It was a good take on things. And then we had Haunted House, I think was what Alex had wrote, and it was just a lot of like Stephen King and horror movie references and stuff like that. So that was cool. Then what was next? What was I? Oh, Inspiration. James Lynch, amazing actor, playing George R.R. Martin, trying to finish the next book. That was Jessica wrote. Another great sketch by Jessica. Truly talented. She just got married recently, so congrats to her on that. And James just nailed it. It was so fucking funny. And then Joke, Anna had this sketch that she wrote, and she had this poster, and it just said Chad, and a director friend of hers, Mock, had given her this poster, like, oh, maybe you guys could use this in a sketch show sometime. And it's just this poster of this guy, like this kind of like marker drawn thing, this guy with glasses, short hair, and it was like he was running for an office of something, or like some local office, but it just said Chad. That's all it said. And so she wrote this whole sketch around us laughing at what Chad was saying, and like Donnie's character was the only one who couldn't hear what Chad was saying, and it was a fucking hilarious sketch. Sorry for my language. It was fucking hilarious. I still love that sketch. I unfortunately she lost Chad in her other car, and so it just, we don't have Chad anymore, so we miss it, Chad. And then there was, let's see, we have KLM. Yeah. Then there was King. This was the one that Jeanette wrote. Love Jeanette. This is not a criticism of her as a person. This is not a criticism of her as a writer. But I'm very nice. Remember when I talked about when Jim sent that sketch in? I'm trying to be more constructively critical now with sketches. Not to say, no, that's fun. That's cool. I like it. Cool. Because sometimes you're like, oh, what if it's not bad, but what if we tweak this? And this was one of those where I should have. And I said, I'm not even saying the sketch was horrible, and the audience still laughed and stuff. But like, basically it was like Josh and Diana playing the king and queen, and the joke kept being like Josh saying, I rule this, and Diana overruling him. But it kept going that way, and more characters kept coming in, and then Jeanette put on a sombrero and talked like she was Hispanic. So that was awkward. Luckily it didn't come off too bad for the audience that was there, but watching it on video, I'm like, this is not going to be good. This could be right up there with the Pansy thing as far as us being offensive to people. Great. But anyway, it is what it is. But like, it was just, the problem was I think it was just the same joke. And the thing with comedy is you have to follow the rule of 3. If you go beyond 3, you got to follow the rule of 6, to bring it back, because if you go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it just dies. And it wasn't like a bad sketch by any means, but. And then let's see, what was L? It was one I wrote. Oh, my sketch was based off of an experience I had with in the mail. I used to have Sirius XM radio, and when I moved in with Anna, I had used 1-800 got junk to get rid of some stuff I didn't need anymore, and just junk that was in the house. Well, they kept sending me like letters in the email of like, after the thing had ended, like, we miss you, come back to us, and things like that, like we're dating or something. So I just wrote a whole sketch about a guy getting letters from like, who's this? Who's this serious bitch or something like and then James plays when he got drunk and he just lifts his belly out. It's like, hey, it was funny. And then we end up Jack's other sketch was called Moon Gazing. It was kind of weird, but we were kind of running short on time, so we just did the Macarena at the end. So that turned out pretty good. And like I said, we did really well. We made money off the show. The first time we made money at the Pocket too. So making money at the Eclectic, making money at the Pocket, things are going good. So that was really cool, and that was just, and the audience reaction was great. And like I said, it was super cool feeling, and I was like feeling great. And we did the show again at the Grotto, just so the Grotto audience got to see it too. That didn't go too bad either, but it wasn't didn't feel the same experience. There wasn't as big a crowd and stuff like that. There was only one problem that happened in the Gruber sketch, because Jessica, told Donnie to say the C word. If you don't know what the C word is, just listen to Ricky Gervais and you'll probably hear it a couple times. It's big in Britain. And she had him say that to her, and even after he said it, he immediately regretted it. Like he said, oh, okay, we've lost the audience right away with this. So he apologized right back backstage, saying, I was sorry about that. So he'd already apologized and all this. Now, this is one of those things, like I said, love Rusty and Kevin. They've become like a second family to me, or a third family, whatever. I have so many families. Theater family, my actual family, my in-laws, all that stuff. So I love them to death. But there's times where, I don't need to be lectured about things. And there's one time they came up to me and said, and Kevin goes up and says, well, you should talk to Donnie about saying that C word, because Rusty was super offended about it. And I'm just like, yeah, we already talked about it. I already handled it. Just like I handled the Pansy situation and anything else. I am in charge here. I do handle these things. I do know how to handle these things. I've been doing this for a long time. So it's things like that where, I appreciate everything they do. I appreciate them being at the shows and filming in. They are great people. They have a great heart, and they are fully supportive, and I love them to death. So I want them to know. But there are definite times where it's just it's like dealing with your parents. Sometimes you're just like, okay, love you, and I get you, but please back off. And that's not, I hope they don't take offense to that. If they watch the video, I don't take offense to that at all, because that's not what I'm trying to be. It's just, sometimes it's like, okay, I get it. Been handled. Thank you for letting me know. Anyway, so we did that. Let's see what else is on the list. Good God, this has gotten so long. Adam, you could stop. I could, but I won't. Then we did Grab Bag. We did that, and that was a lot of fun. And I did... Oh, wait, when was Grab Bag? When was Grab Bag? I don't know. No, we did Grab Bag in April. That's right. We had done Grab Bag before. We put improv games in there, and the audience picks our set. Super cool, fun show. We continue to do that show. It's awesome. Let's see. June. Oh, yes. We did a May show, but it was May, I think, of a title. I think I used that in 2016, too. And it was another May show where no one came. So I kind of got to the point... Oh, Gina actually came. That's right. And she got up and played with us. That's right. So it was good to see Gina. But after that, I got to a point where I'm like, okay, no one is coming to these shows. So I'm going to have to, not, do a May show. So anyway, same thing happened in January. So yeah, May show happened. June, we actually got to go back to the Pocket and do an improv show this time. So we did Night of the Improvisers, what I called it. And we did themed. We themed the games of we're doing a soap opera, we're doing that. And that was a lot of fun too. We had a great time with that. We didn't quite make money that time, but it was still a pretty good turnout. Honest parents came and stuff. Before that happened, Diana had another slip, unfortunately. And we had to have another conversation. So she took that time off a little bit for a few months to deal with that. And good for her. She took care of it. And she was back in the fall. So unfortunately, she wasn't able to do the show with us. But she understood. It was all good. All good in the hood. So, yeah, we did that show. That was a lot of fun. There was one really funny moment when we were doing our musical Chairs of Death thing. And someone suggested for the death, die by orgasming into death. And here's Alex, the sweetest guy in the world, and his dad's right in the audience, and he's just like, sorry, Dad, and then it was probably the funniest thing there. But the shows went really well. I thought the Friday show was energy was really good. The second night show was not quite as much energy. I felt kind of low energy, but it's all good. We had a party that night. That was fun. We went to Donnie's house and had a party, and Draco showed up, and Draco was back in town and had moved back. So that was super cool. We got to catch up with him. He had stayed at Rusty and Kevin's and stuff, and we caught up with him. Uh, and it was great to see him too, because Draco's a great guy. Um, and yeah, oh, one thing back to Electric Man real quick. It's only an hour, Adam. Jesus Christ. Um, just the one thing I did feel bad about and have regret is like, even though he was playing an Italian gangster, having a black man play a gangster, not the best casting decision that we made. It's one I kind of regret. He was a super nice guy. He seemed to like pretty much just be, I'm surprised cast me as an Italian. That was more his thing about it. But I can understand that a black person does not want to just be playing a gangster or a thug or anything like that, because it's stereotyping and stuff like that. And that's one of those regretful casting decisions where I was just like, because I was really hoping, like, I was trying to work with him a little bit. I was really hoping to put him in the rubber band man role, but it just was like, Umberto was just a little stronger for an actor at that time, so it wasn't anything against him. I really like him; he's a nice guy. Um, anyway, I just want to touch on that real quick. Like I said, I'm zooming through this kind of quickly here, just to try to get through it, guys. We're almost there. We did June, all right. We did July. July, I decided to do a bunch of new improv games that we had never done, and it was okay. Then we did August. We did. Did we do August? I think we did something in August, and no one showed up again. That's when I started to think maybe. I think I was supposed to be Spec Laughter. I was going to do sketches or something, and then no one showed up. So we decided not to do August shows anymore after that. Amazing. And then we did, let's see, we did February. Oh, yeah. July came. We did Grab Bag again in August. That was fun. Oh, that's what we did in August. We did Grab Bag in August. That's what we did. We didn't do it in April. We did it in August because we did the sketch show in April. I've been out of order. That was the first time we did Grab Bag. So people actually did come to that show, and it was fun. One of the few August shows people came to. Cool. Then we got to Sketch Fest again. And that was, so we didn't do a September show at the Grotto. We did, because we were doing Sketch Fest. Now, I remember I picked the sketch Duck Duck Goose, which I did way back when. And I had this character, Doug Farnsworth. You might have seen him on the other Adam and Anna channel. And we did that, and that was a lot of fun. Doing that, and then I had this other sketch that I written. We kind of only had 10 minutes again, so I was like, okay, that's fine. Before that, I'd actually met with Clayton Weller about doing. Oh my God, did I completely skip? Wait, did I? No, that's next year. Yeah, that's next year. I'm sorry. I had met with Clayton Weller. I wanted to do a reading of this play called The Safeguard Society because I was planning to introduce these other characters through the comic book universe for Electric Man, because Electric Man had been such a success. I'm like, well, we should do more characters because I have these other characters. And he was totally cool with it. He's like, yeah, let's do it like a reading and then just get like the survey and all that. That'll be more in 2018. We'll talk about that. But it was cool. It was a cool meeting because he had mentioned that he was also doing a 10-minute set at Sketchfest. So anyway, we did Sketchfest. Unfortunately, I'd forgotten to mention that me and Anna had gotten a cat a few months before, named Ruby, this orange cat. And Anna had done this Star Trek show, outdoor Star Trek show. And she was working with a cast member, and he had a cat that needed to just be a cat that was by themselves. Wasn't with other cats. Didn't interact with other cats. He'd had her a long time. But she was super cool. Super great cat. Super sweet cat. Well, unfortunately, we had gone on vacation. And then we came back, and I noticed she was sneezing a lot, and she seemed like really low energy, and I was kind of worried about it. And then Anna said she basically had a stroke, and she took her to the vet, and we got all the stuff for the vet and all that, like emergency vet hospital. And I took her home, and we had to give her some medicine and stuff like that, and it felt like she was gonna get better. And then Anna came home that Friday that we were performing at Sketchfest to let me know. We had to go back to the vet, and it wasn't good news. And then the vet basically told us that you guys are probably going to have to put her down because she's just got too many. And so let me tell you, having to go to a sketch show after hearing your cat basically is going to have to be put down the next day. So we were going to have her for the night and then put her down in the afternoon the next day was the plan. And so I'll fully admit it. Like, we went and did the show because we didn't want to leave everybody else hanging because we were in the sketches. But I'll be honest, I don't think our performance was great. Those sketches are funny, the ones we wrote, but it wasn't our best sketches. It wasn't the best stuff we could have shown compared to the previous year when we just had a great. I wasn't happy with the set. We and Anna I hated to do it, but like there's like three people that perform in that set. Me and Anna had to leave right after the set. Anna just wanted to get home to the cat because this was our last night with her, and we both just took turns taking naps. And finally got to the morning, we had to actually rush her to a vet, and we put her down that day. So it was a miserable weekend, unfortunately, and that was just really. I think we did do a September show, but we didn't do the show because our cat died, and Kevin actually did the show, and that was interesting. And so it was just a couple of them did the show. It was a quick improv show, so I just told them to do the show. We're taking the show off because we're not in the mindset for this. We had to do Sketchfest because it was sketches, and had it been improv, we probably wouldn't have gone to the show. But I felt bad for the other performers that we had to leave like that because I would have rather watched their shows. I wish we would have been in a better mindset to perform. But that's why, if our show wasn't quite up to par or as funny as it could have been, that's why. So they did a September show without us. October we had our N through Z show, and I was considering putting Kevin in it, but not to keep bringing up things like this, but Kevin also has a drinking issue and has had it since Michael was around and has been off and on trying to get off it. He's off it now, so good on him. But there was one time, and it's uncomfortable to talk about this a little bit, but I'm just going to wrap it quickly. But he was going to be in our N through Z show because Jessica was moving. Donnie was going to move pretty soon, I think, within the next couple months, I believe. I think that's when I'm trying to think when Donnie left. When did he leave? It was a little bit, maybe it was in the spring, I think. I can't remember. Well, I'll try to remember it. But like, Jessica was getting ready to leave, so she wasn't going to be in the October show. Donnie was doing stuff, so he wasn't in the October show. Jag was out of town, so he wasn't in the October show. So I had a very depleted, and Diana was still out for now. So I had James, I had Alex, I had Anna, I had Josh, I had me. So some of the sketches I'd written really needed more people. But so I was kind of like, okay, I'll give Kevin a couple small roles because he had done one of my improv workshops because I did a couple improv workshops. Just to, some couple people. Jag did it with us, and that was fun. And Jag is a cool guy. He didn't have to do that because he's a super talented guy. In fact, he took my little workshop was, a very, very nice thing to do. But like Kevin kind of wanted in there to perform, and I was trying to be nice. I'm like, all right, we'll give him a chance, And I just remember the first time we got there to that rehearsal, and this was after we did the September show. I think I'd said something about printing the sketches and having the sketches ready and all that, and I was kind of like, I got there and we were late as it was, and I was upset, and I'm like, oh damn it guys, why do we not have these sketches ready? And did it, and then Kevin starts going off at me, yeah, well, where were you when the four of us were doing a show last week? It's like, our cat died. I told you people the reason was that. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry about your cat, but like, he was clearly drunk, and he doesn't like to admit this, and that's okay. But Anna literally saw him driving that car, and he almost hit me that night. Like, if I had not moved a certain way, he would have absolutely slammed into me. That's an uncomfortable thing to say, especially on camera. And it's not to shame him or anything like that, but that was... After that, I'm like, I can't. I messaged Rusty and them, and I said, I can't have him in the show. Not in this condition. Because, it was already... We'd already had the situation with Diana happen a few times, and I just, I can't. We're putting on shows, guys, and we gotta... Josh isn't smoking weed before the shows anymore. I have to be more diligent about this. And that's the same reason I don't try to put people on shows if they aren't available for the rehearsals anymore, because it's not fair to everybody else who's there. So that was awkward. He wasn't happy about it, but I understood, but it was an awkward situation for us. Anyway, we did the show, and it didn't go bad. We didn't have quite as good a crowd. We didn't make any money off it, which is okay. We did make money previous in the year, so I'm not really too upset about it. And the sketches were pretty good. There were still some good sketches. We did. Josh had a good opening sketch called Nick, and that was where he was calling himself Nick, and it was kind of funny. Then we had Ovation, which was it was Freddy Krueger trying to do stand up, and failing miserably because his jokes were bad. And then the Crypt Keeper comes up and does the same thing. And then I came up as Jason, and people laughed at that. And I'm laughing at it. It was funny. And then Panoramic, we did a panoramic sketch that Alex wrote. And then what was P? Q? What was Q? Oh, Q was something. It was something about. Oh, it was like an improv thing, but they were robbing a bank. I think it was one that Josh had written. It was pretty funny. Q P Q R. Red Rover. That's right. I did a Red Rover thing. I did it like the Duck Duck Goose thing. I did Red Rover, and it was Doug Farnsworth, but it was too bold. It was too big. I think I just much like the spelling bee one I did. It was just I needed more characters for one thing. So me and Josh had to keep like changing characters and playing Red Rover because we only had enough people to do Red Rover. We only had 5 people, so it was just it was awkward. So that didn't work out. But we also had the Spider-Man one, which was really funny because Anna had done this impersonation of Aunt May from the Spider-Man Danny Elfman movies. Not Danny Elfman, Sam Raimi movies. He did the music. I'm caffeinated and rambling. And so, yeah, and she did this thing where like she's like this total like sex pervert or something like that. So my whole thing was me playing Spider-Man and her reacting and telling these gross stories about Uncle Ben and my parents and everything like that. And it was pretty funny. I liked it. And then T was That's What She Said, which is what Alex wrote. That was fun. U was what was U? Oh, U was God. Well, it was some kind of Jessica had teased me about not proposing to Anna yet, and so the whole thing was kind of like, God, what was it about? I'm trying to think of what it was. It was a short sketch, but it was sort of humblingly saying things like maybe Adam should propose already. Oh, it was cupidity. It was like defining like because Anna has this thing where like how normally smart people can just go, oh, look at it, you know, like go into that kind of motion when they see a cat or a baby or something like that. My computer's getting hot. I should probably wrap this up, and I will. Don't worry. And so, yeah, and so it was a funny sketch. And then we have V was Veritas. That was I'm trying to remember that one. That was the one that Anna wrote. It was kind of like, what was that one? I kind of forgot what the hell it was. Then we had X. X was X marks the spot. That was pretty funny. And then I forget what exactly that was something maybe with pirates or something. And then Y we didn't have a sketch, so I just came out and says, why didn't anyone write a sketch? And then we ended on Z, which was Zed, which was kind of this whole Canadian thing we did. So it wasn't too bad. Then November we just did Turkiversary, which was basically like it was just a little improv show. We kind of reflected on being there for 2 years and the fun we'd had. And then we did Holiday Extravaganza. We did auditions where we only had 3 people show up. We had Helen Tang, who did our Electric Man show, came and she joined. And this girl named Abby joined. And this other girl, this other woman, Darla, joined, although she never actually joined the group. Unfortunately, circumstances. But, so yeah. So we ended the year pretty good. I think what we did for that show, because we had kind of a depleted crew, we just did a thing where we did like Christmas carols, but we did it in different rock and different styles of music, and we all did one, and then we did improv games. So that wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a huge blow up, but not a bad way to end the year. So this got super long, guys, and I apologize for that. If I wouldn't have had to add the Wizard of Oz story for forgetting it, because I forget things sometimes, because I'm a man, and I forget things, because that's what men do, we forget. Anyway, shut up, Adam. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, because my computer's getting hot on my leg, and I've done a lot of videos today, and my voice is also getting a little thin. So I'm going to shut the hell up now and wrap up 2017. Sorry for it being so long. Hope you'll still watch and enjoy it. And part 8 will be next Friday, most likely. We'll go into 2018 and the things we did that year. So cool. Hope everybody enjoyed this video. Hope, nobody hates me for mentioning certain things, because that was not the intention. I'm just going through. This is reflections of what I viewed. This is all it is. This is not to be like, oh, I'm calling this person out for their behavior, because you could easily call me out for behavior. Oh, Adam was angry. Oh, well, yeah. But like, it is what it is. But this is also my story of Turkey and what I've interacted with. So they want to get on a video and tell their story of situations. They are welcome to do that. And I will gladly hear it. And I will not get pissed off if they say bad things about me. Totally cool. Because I'm still your friend and I still love y'all. Anybody I've mentioned in this video, love y'all. You're great. People in the shows, thanks for watching. See you next time.